Well, studio on this
Trump Day.
It's our pleasure to welcome now Mandy Gunasekara, former EPA Chief of Staff for President Trump. Mandy, good to see you. How you feeling today?
I feel amazing. Last night was vindicating in so many ways. It was a lot of fun. Great to reconnect with folks and just to feel victorious once again as a movement, and then to see President Trump and his family last night get up and give the speech that they did. It was the cherry on top of a very, very sweet cake.
Not much coming from the Democrats today, Mandy. Where is Vice President Kamala Harris? I see she's scheduled to speak at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Just saw that come across the screen here in the studio. But will they pivot? Is this a day of reckoning? Was this instructive? Are they regrouping? Are they taking stock of what happened?
I don't think so. Not seriously. There's a little bit of chatter on X about there's always learning opportunities from any election. Conservatives had to go through it. The Democrats will go through it this go round. But I don't foresee anything like that coming from Kamala Harris. It's really interesting. She rarely has had to face adverse opposition. She only towards the end of the campaign actually went into testy interviews and put herself out there just a handful of times. I actually think this will be the first time where she's walking into a situation where the whole setup is wholly adverse to her. So I'm curious to see how she will react. I'm glad to hear it's being rebranded as a concession speech. That to me is a good sign, but I don't think it'll be any true lessons learned or any genuine outtakes other than trying to find various groups of people or reasons to blame.
And of course, as the vice president, she has the responsibility of signing off on the electoral vote. And is that an awkward moment for her? Is this going to be a problem, or what do you think?
I don't think it'll be a problem. I was actually talking to a bunch of my friends. I have a lot of friends that are on the Hill, and recall that they had passed some legislative changes to that certification process after the last go round. And so they've made it more pro forma. Depending on who you talked to, it was already pro forma versus there was some ambiguous opportunities on the other side. Nonetheless, it should be pretty pro forma, straightforward. I imagine it'll be hard for her to do, but it is the right thing to do, and what the American people have overwhelmingly asked her to do. They sent a message, a very strong message and a mandate embracing President Trump's America First vision and really rejecting all of the hateful, disparaging rhetoric that we saw from her campaign and the left in general.
You know, Mandy, something that may be a little different here with respect to just post-election response and reaction is it appears President Trump is poised to also carry the popular vote as well. So does that mean hopefully we won't hear these refrains that, oh, well, she won the popular vote and it's just more evidence of why we need to convert to popular vote to elect our president. He really didn't win legitimately. You remember that in 2016? That was the cry.
I do. It was a favorite talking point. It was also a rallying cry for them to want to do away with the Electoral College. It blows a hole in one of their favorite talking points and a way for them to save face. There's no way around it. She received a giant shellacking delivered at the hands of President Trump with the Electoral College. And then I agree that the popular vote, my husband's actually been saying this for quite some time, that he believed Trump was going to win the popular vote, which was going to be increasingly important for retaining the House. Senate races we felt pretty good about, but for retaining the House, which it seems that that's going to happen as well. The popular vote was very important on that front.
Yeah, the Senate already called as far as being in Republican control. It's just a matter of whether or not the outstanding 2 or 3 seats, which way they're going to go. It looks like Pennsylvania is trending toward McCormick to take over for Bob Casey. And I got to tell you, I couldn't be more happy that Sherrod Brown's out of there and Bob Casey is number 1 or 2 between those two on my list of opponents on the Democrat side we'd like to see go home. but it's looking good
Yeah,
there.
well,
Go ahead.
Well, it's great. It's great that we have the majority in the Senate. I hope the rest of them land on the Republican side. That's going to be so important for the president getting his nominations through. I mean, while we were in the Trump administration, we struggled in the Senate even when we had the majority because you have
Yeah.
some notorious Republicans that aren't going to go along with certain nominees. And so having a 3 to 4 senator threshold is a huge deal for getting the type of nominees we know are going to be reform minded and on board with President Trump's America First vision.
Yeah, it's a good point. Of course, Murkowski and
Yeah.
Susan in
Yep, Susan
Maine.
Collins and
Yeah, Susan
Murkowski.
Collins in Maine. Yeah, I mean, you can't rely on them to necessarily follow the rest of the Republicans on these appointments. They can be problematic. You remember Susan Collins, I mean, at the last minute, was it Kavanaugh or Gorsuch? One of them she held out on quite a bit and finally did see fit to vote in favor. But you're right, having a little cushion is quite helpful there. Looks like Tester, that one's been called in Montana, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan still outstanding. What do you think about the House? What are you hearing there?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. I saw some latest projections from friends who are more in the data weeds on all this kind of stuff. They had projected around an 80% chance that it would be 221 to 214. I think that's right. That's the right math. But anyway, that Republicans would be closer to 221, 222 as far
Okay.
as the majority. They would retain it, and then it would be a little bit more than this morning. Folks were saying 218 to 217, which is kind of a
Wow.
nightmare situation, but majority really matters in the House. That's where all the resources and importantly the subpoena power lies with the chairmanships at the various committees. So it'll be really important to maintain the House. I feel confident about that. And again, I think it'll just be what's the number in terms of Republicans having the majority.
You know, circling back to my first question, disappointed but not surprised that Adam Schiff prevailed in California in that Senate race out there. But he's already announced that, you know, the dream list of the Democrat agenda he intends to push for in the United States Senate, making Puerto Rico a state, expanding the Supreme Court, ending the Electoral College, which would require a constitutional amendment, and some of the other crazy stuff as well. He's going to proceed with that.
Yeah, he's all in on the crazy leftist policies that delivered them this resounding defeat. All of those policies are totally antithetical to founding principles. They're not just bad ideas. They're
Yeah.
antithetical to what makes this country so great. So, I'm not surprised. Adam Schiff, he's been the face of everything that's wrong from a policy and personal approach from the left. Of course, he's going to lean in. That's where that's the mentality of the people that he represents. But what we saw last night is the odd man out. That is not the majority of this country. And so he's not going to get very far, even if he's out there stomping around, yelling about wanting to do these crazy things.
Which I think kind of affirms your response to the question is, no, I don't think they're going to pivot. I don't think they're going to do any soul searching and say we need to maybe change our views on some of these key policy areas. I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think so. The left, they crave power, and they have been very good at taking over institutions or taking important functions of the federal government and then co-opting them for their political benefit. Now, over the next 4 years, this is what President Trump's one of his main agenda items is. It isn't just fixing the policies; it is restructuring the government in a way to where the American voter is once again the most important person, and the bureaucrat, the unelected bureaucrat, isn't leading the charge. And so we shall see. But the left, they've been successful taking over institutions. They're going to keep trying, but there is massive momentum, not just within the conservative party, but with people like Elon Musk and RFK Jr., Vivek Ramaswamy, those folks who are equally aligned on going after the deep state, reining back the size and growth of the federal government, and restoring balance that's been missing for quite some time.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm so pleased to see folks come from the private sector, such as Vivek and Elon, that it appears the president-elect is going to include in a big way somehow in his administration. And we desperately need that, I believe, instead of these career bureaucrats that are in charge of things that have just messed it up, honestly. Mandy, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good to be with you, Gerard.
We'll probably see you Friday, right, up in Oxford?
Yeah, I'll be hosting Gala. So, see y'all then.
Sounds good. We're coming right back, folks, in the Element Wealth